what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Welcome back to On Texas Football. Welcome back to our Friday live stream. I like to call it a free flag, feel good, fake it till you make it. Ric Flair, woo! Football Friday edition of your Friday live stream here on Texas Football. Joining me is my fellow Lifetime Longhorn, the young prodigy CJ Bogle, and the newest member of the On Texas Football family, my good friend and esteemed colleague and co-worker, my man Jeff Howe, joining me as well. Of course, I know a lot of you guys out there want to talk about official visits. You want to talk about some offers that the Longhorns have made to future prospects. We'll get into that. We'll start off the show with that, as a matter of fact. It's a shortened, abbreviated, truncated edition of our live stream. So try to get your questions and your comments in, and we'll try to address as many of them as we can in this shorter version of our live stream. Also, Super Chats jump to the front of the line. You can interrupt the show at any time. Pro Football Focus also has a ranking of the top linebacker units in all of college football. We'll talk about where the Longhorns are ranked on those rankings, and also we'll get into some other Longhorn football related items. But gentlemen, let's start off with what everybody wants to talk about. We already got questions in here, as a matter of fact, about it. Jedi Master Bevo says, need some OV updates on weekend visitors. I'm getting the shakes. LOL. So Jedi Master Bevo, along with a lot of the folks out there, I'm sure in the chat, they want some updates on official visitors, and that's why we got my man CJ Bogle here to break it all down.
Yeah, Jerry and I were just up at the airport. Jerry's still up there right now, waiting on folks to arrive. We saw a handful of big prospects, including their family members, arrive at Bergstrom, making their way over to the 40 acres right now. A few updates. Of course, Malachi Lee, the big offensive lineman from Hawaii, he got in last night. He was the first one to campus that we were aware of. Jamarian Carlton, the defensive lineman out of Temple, he's already on campus as well. We did see Lamar Brown, the five-star defensive lineman out of University Lab, Baton Rouge out of Louisiana. He made it to campus with his mom and his younger brother. They're arriving in Austin. Lionel Clark's done a great job in that recruitment already. I mentioned Jamarian Carlton. He was at LSU last weekend. This, again, a lot of LSU-Texas battles at the moment. Hayward Howard, the Texas commit, arrived with his mom. They're ready for a good weekend. I talked to Hayward very briefly. He said he's looking to start recruiting in favor of the Longhorns as well, something I think should certainly be highlighted. And then Bo Jandro from Chandler, Arizona, made it to town with his mom and dad, the linebacker. Looks physically impressive. So those are the four that we've seen arrive. Of course, I mentioned Carlton, Xavier Crowell, expected to be on campus here soon, and then a number of guys from the DFW area expected to drive in as well. That includes a Caden Finley, Cohen Brown out of Waxahachie, Trot O'Neill, the long snapper commit out of Prestonwood Christian Academy, and then Mikey Bukowskis out of Prosper. So all of those DFW cats supposed to be driving in, arriving here soon. But yeah, Jerry was the first. Look, we had a game, Jerry and I did, a couple other media members over there. First one to spot each official visitor prospect getting down from the elevator at Bergstrom. They get a point. I don't think I ended up with anything. Jerry, of course, had a few more. He also had a nice bag of peanut M&Ms. So we were trying to make the time fly by as much as we could over there. But yeah, updates still flying in. We got a thread going on TexasFootball.com, and of course, this evening should be a big visit weekend or big visit update coming in with all these guys arriving on campus and getting their first meetings going.
There is a burnt orange-ish Lambo out in front of Moncrief as of CJ, like 20 minutes ago, probably.
Yep. They got a couple of them out there. They went for the team colors. So I know last year there was a lime green one. You had the yellows, maybe a red. No, this year it's all burnt orange. They got a white one, black one, but
as it should be. As
still there.
Be. Do we know who has the Lambo deals for this upcoming season? Because don't those are 1 year kind of deals, right? Do we? Who's gonna get the Lambo deal this year?
I don't know. I think there was lots of a Michael Taff in it, but I don't know specifically who else might be a part of it. We talk about numbers being passed down. Look, if you pass down a Lamborghini deal, there you go.
That's legit. If we can keep that in the DB room, that would be awesome. Just pass it down to the next great DB. You get the Lambo deal. That would be, now talk about a recruiting tool. That's pretty damn good. I like that one. Mm-hmm. CJ, any of those official visitor prospects that you named that either you particularly think is, oh, look, there you go. Boom. That's a nice shot. Thank you there, Matthew. That's why Matthew's the best in the business. Ooh, that orange ain't burnt though. It ain't the
right.
burnt.
I don't know if Lamborghini makes it in the burnt.
Okay. Come on, man. We got enough influence and resources at Texas. We can't get a little burnt orange wrap on that thing. Come on.
They like the Flash.
That's true.
Burnt orange is a hard color though to do, to get it exactly right.
Well, you can't. Texas will sue you if you get it exactly right.
Exactly.
You get it right, they'd be like, "Oh, that's too close. Cease and desist." Yeah, you got to get
the number. I think it's Pantone 249 or something.
Yeah,
like that, the number, but basically Texas has that color trademarked. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, if we got the Lambo deal, why can't we need Matthew McConaughey to step in? He probably could get Texas to license him the color just for a car. It's only a few people that probably could do that, and the Minister of Culture is one of those few people that probably could do it too. Maybe Bijan could do it. Yeah, VY, guys like that. Maybe Texas will do you a favor. I want to, but before we start looking at the photo, thank you very much, Matthew. Appreciate that. Are any of those official visitor prospects, in your opinion, more pressing than others, or it just your personal opinion you like more than others? Any of those guys?
Yeah, one more I forgot to mention. Corey Wells, the defensive lineman out of Mississippi, he made it to campus with his mom and dad as well. So that's another big out-of-state defensive lineman. Look, it's fun looking at this official visitors list because it's so talented. And next week, especially when you look ahead just a little bit, you got about 20, 25 guys coming in, all of which are going to be national blue chip guys fighting for spots in this class. But to me, it's always been about Lamar Brown in this one. Texas still waiting on Dylan Berryman to arrive in from Shreveport, but you go down a little bit to Baton Rouge. Lamar Brown is maybe a top 5 player in the country for me. I think that kid is unbelievable. And Texas for a while had only been recruiting him as an offensive lineman. His conversations with Kyle Flood kind of ceased, and then Alan Clark comes around and they're like, "Oh, you're a defensive lineman, actually." And that's, I think, where he wants to play at the next level. And I know we're about to talk about a pretty lengthy highlight tape coming up here, but you look at Lamar Brown's huddle on either side of the ball, he's a 5-star offensive lineman. You spin him around, he's a 5-star defensive lineman. This is a freaky guy.
What?
And it wasn't until recently that Texas was involved in this recruitment at all. I talked about Kyle Flood was really his main source of contact there for Texas, and they went dry talking about offensive line, and he said, "Nah, I want to play D." LSU, Texas A&M, Miami, those are where his other official visits are, all on the defensive side of the ball. Alan Clark has that Baton Rouge connection, and right now he's giving Texas a lot of thought, and he should be arriving to campus here in the next hour or two. But that is one of the guys that I'm looking at saying, if Texas lands him, there's a ultra shift in where these elite level defensive linemen are headed in terms of Texas.
And how many out-of-state of these official visitors? Maybe not the exact number, but an estimate. Is it what percentage of these official visitors seem to be out-of-state prospects?
Yeah, there's 3 specialists coming in, 2 of them from the DFW area. If you take those 3 out, it's about 75% this week are out of state. The only ones from the Texas inside of the state of Texas are Jamarian Carlton, Cohen Brown, and Caden Finley from Aledo. So look, Texas again recruiting very heavily from the out-of-state world right now. Malachi Lee from Hawaii, Devon Benjamin, maybe the top safety in all the country. Texas loves him. They're going hard this weekend.
Wow. Okay.
Those 2 Louisiana defensive linemen are really interesting. Dylan Berryman. We'll see. Does Texas push really, really hard to maybe close that deal this weekend? And then, like you mentioned, Lamar Brown, CJ, Rod, kind of if you think back to another Louisiana kid, but from northern Louisiana, Shreveport, when Jerry Tillery came out probably about a decade ago, there was another one, teams recruited him. They're like, hey, you could come in to be a left tackle, or you could come in and be a defensive lineman. He really athletic guy. Ends up going to Notre Dame as a defensive lineman and ends up leaving as a first-round pick. So I think there's some parallels there between Jerry Tillery and Lamar Brown.
That's fascinating to me to be that good on both sides of the ball. And I definitely understand why you choose defense. It's more of a mindset thing than anything when you're that good on both sides of the ball. That's interesting. All right, we'll get to a quarterback offer, actually talking about future prospects for the Longhorns here in just a second. But let's thank one of our sponsors, our friends over at Flat Creek Estate Winery, before we move on. Did you know the most awarded wine in Texas is actually the vineyard closest to Austin? That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Flat Creek Estate Winery is just minutes from downtown Austin, and they won award after award this year for their vintage wine, Super Texan. Super Texan is now available at your local specs. It is absolutely fantastic. We recently had some Super Texan in there because my wife loves it and it doesn't stay around long. I'll just say that. So I don't even know if there's any still in there, but we love the Super Texan. Actually, my mom loves it and her mom as well, because we got a chance to enjoy the Super Texan over the holidays too. So you would love it, trust me. But they have a lot of great wines. The rosé is really refreshing. The Pinot Grigio is really good. Flat Creek Estate Winery. So not only do they have it at your local specs, I believe I saw a display at our local Central Market here in town as well. So not only do you get some of the best premium wines from Flat Creek, but also they're a gorgeous venue as well, with barbecues and wine tastings every single weekend. Perfect for a date with your significant other, or a weekend getaway with your significant other. That's Flat Creek Estate Winery, flatcreekestate.com. Really appreciate them and their ongoing support of On Texas Football, and they're sponsoring our Friday live stream. We appreciate their support. All right, let's dive back into some questions here. Alan says, QB Kavian Bryant offered by Sark. I believe this is the quarterback that you were referring to when you talked about the highlight reel that this young man has.
Yeah, thank you, Matthew. This kid's a freak, and there's no other way to put out of Westwood, out of Palestine, Texas. Look, could be a Division I dual sport guy. Really talented combo guard on the basketball court as well. He earned a Texas offer last night. One of the few 27 quarterbacks that threw in front of Milby and Steve Sarkisian. And why is that notable, you ask? I know 27's a ways away, but look, Texas just had Gunnar Rivers on campus last week. They just had Peyton Houston, who has a Texas offer last week, throwing as well. Jerry Meyer III out of Waxahachie with about 25 offers, all on campus last week. And look, when Texas kind of eyes their quarterback of the class, very rarely do you see them leave campus without an offer or without, kind of that pushing towards commitment. And I'm not saying that's going to happen immediately for Kavian Bryant, but look, he was one of the four that left with a commitment. So really talented quarterback, 10.5-inch hands as well. Freaky movement. Of course, I mentioned the basketball side of things. Texas certainly right there in the mix in terms of him and his basketball recruitment. But with the Texas offer, I think it's going to change a lot in terms of where his mindset goes in terms of his openness to playing two sports. Right now, Texas football as a quarterback kind of changes the trajectory. And what he may have thought being a potential two-sport college career, I think changes with the Texas offer, but really talented player.
Yeah. Of the guys, since Sark has been here, even you look at a guy like KJ Lacey, a guy like Diabell, even as athletic as Arch is, Sark and AJ Milby haven't recruited a guy like this to play the position. So this is really interesting, Rod. It's kind of you and I have talked about it. Jerry and I talked about it last night during the softball watch along. Like, is this Sark and AJ Milby looking at the quarterback position and saying, we've got to have that dual threat skill set. We've got to have a guy that can extend the play and make things happen when it breaks down? Or is this just a case where they're evaluating how they evaluate and just, these are the guys that they end up with? I don't know which one it is, but I do think this offer is fascinating, because if you get this recruitment across the finish line, Kavian Bryant might take you a minute to develop him and get him ready. But as long as Texas stays in a position at quarterback where you can give a guy a year or two to sit and watch, then there's no problem with that and letting him develop. And then when he's ready, hopefully you've got a guy that's just an absolute monster to deal with.
Yeah, Jeff, maybe you can help me out here, because he's unlike any quarterback Texas has recruited under Sarkisian, but I don't recall maybe a little more of an athletic Gerard Hurd. I don't know how far back I could go in my brain to find a comparison athletically for Kavian Bryant.
Yeah, Gerard Hurd might be it, because none of the other guys, I mean, Casey Thompson, Cam Rising, hell, I mean, honestly, Rojo was a little bit of a different athlete, but we never got to see Roschon Johnson play quarterback at the college level because he made the move to running back right away. So, yeah, Gerard Hurd, CJ, that's probably because, I mean, Gerard Hurd actually in his younger years in high school was actually a really good basketball player, probably, maybe a mid-major type guy. His sister actually ended up was a really good basketball player at TCU. But yeah, it might be Gerard Hurd. Gerard Hurd, Kyle Loxley was one of those type guys that was just just kind of an athletic project. Texas, Patrick Page mentioned John Childs was another one of those guys, just an athlete that can you develop him into a quarterback? Texas just over the years really hasn't recruited very many of these guys that are, project type guys where, man, if you can get if the athleticism translate to everything we know it takes into being a quarterback at this level and winning football games, man, it's off the charts.
Yeah, no, he's got some freaky twitch and some tools, man. He's toolsy. At least the term that CJ likes to use. He's got a lot of them. I'll say this about I've talked about this too. It's definitely trending toward more athletic quarterbacks with Sark. I'm not sure, and whenever I talk to Sark, I'm gonna ask him straight up. I'm not sure if it's just that's where the quarterback position is going overall, which we know that is the case. Overall, if you look macro, you're looking at just the evolution of the quarterback position, NFL, college, or the high school level. I mean, the quarterbacks are becoming more and more athletic, and the scramble element is becoming more of a cheat code, and it's becoming more of an impact factor in football. Just the quarterback's ability to make a play caller right, even when the play call was wrong.
Right.
And if you don't have that in your offense, it almost feels like you limit your offense to a certain extent. And I think that's why now in the NFL, you'll look at it, the pocket passing quarterbacks are the minority, right? Quarterbacks that can move, that had a functional mobility, it starts there. That's the baseline, functional mobility. And then from there, you build on, is he a true dual threat quarterback? Does he have the scramble ability? All that kind of stuff. So I know that's what football is going. So that could be, maybe that's the reason Sark started to recruit more athletic quarterbacks. Or like you said, maybe Sark studies football. We know he's a football theorist. He studies the game. He studies the NFL. And we know that too. And maybe he just sees where the game is going. Is like, I'm not going to get left behind. I got to go get these types of quarterbacks. Otherwise, my system, it'll limit my system and its capability in the modern era of football. Or it just could be, hey, man, this guy's special. And when you special is special at quarterback, no matter what the skill set and how diverse it is and how dynamic it is, whether it's a pocket passer or whether it's a dual threat quarterback, when I see something special, that it quality at that position, I recruit it. Could just be that with Sark. I don't know. Could be all of the above. Not sure.
I just love the fact that they're in a position where they can develop quarterbacks now. Like, because Texas hasn't, I mean, Rod, you were on campus the last time Texas had the luxury of being able to redshirt Vince Young and say, no, you can sit here and watch Chris Sims and Chance Mock do it for a year, and then we'll cut you loose, because there was really no reason to play him. You're at that position now where you don't have to rush the young guys unless they just end up being really good. As far as Kavian Bryant's skill set, it could be right. If you break it down right, it could be as simple as this. You look at the kind of edge guys Texas is recruiting that they feel they need to win in the SEC. Knowing full well Georgia and Alabama and LSU and Tennessee and Texas A&M and Oklahoma are recruiting the same type of edge rushers. If you know you're going to face potentially dynamic edge guys that can disrupt the quarterback every week, why would you not do something that increases your margin for error? Kind of the equalizer to a great pass rush is a quarterback who can get out of the rush.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
with his instincts and athleticism.
I've got a loose comparison, and I only say this because who was it in the comments that had the question about a comparison? My brain's been kind of running for what he might eventually turn into. I kind of like Justin Fields.
Okay.
In Ohio State, Justin Fields, again, maybe not the most polished passer. The ball will go where it needs to go. Tight coverage, you might find some issues, but the athleticism, I think it's tough to find. I don't think, again, Texas hasn't had it in a while. Tough to find in terms of other comparable quarterbacks in college football. You just don't see it that often. But the basketball background is something that we've talked about with KJ Lacey. We talked about it with Dia Bell, just knowing when to get the ball out and how to get the ball out in any way possible to make the play. He's got that obviously in him. I think Justin Fields is the best I could come up with. I thought about Jordan Travis from Florida State, but look, I think Kavian Bryant right now is your composite number 3 overall quarterback. He's got a little bit more talent in my eyes.
And Sark keeps saying that he doesn't major in quarterback run game. You keep getting these athletic quarterbacks. You don't have to major in quarterback run game, but you definitely have to expand your innovation and creativity when it comes to the quarterback design runs, whenever you decide to use them. Because with a guy like this, I mean, bringing him in as your starting quarterback, whenever that would happen, if it does happen, whoever it's going to be for, you got to make sure that you weaponize that ability. That would be a travesty to bring him in and not use him as the plus
not
one.
utilize. You shelf him.
Yeah, it's like getting a nice, right? It's like getting a nice car, some type of really nice car and never driving.
There's a couple things there, Rod. First, on Justin Fields, like Kavian Bryant, he was a legitimate 2-sport prospect. Justin Fields is a hell of a baseball player, and I do wonder, when the more we talk about the guys that are really successful at the highest level, namely, Mahomes, and you start going down the list, how many of those guys were 2-sport guys in high school? So I think for all the thing, well, you gotta start young and you got to get the right quarterback coach and you got to work on it every day. I think it says a lot when some of the best quarterbacks in football are still guys that, hey, when it was football season, they played football. And then when it was basketball season, they played basketball. And then in the spring, they played baseball. And in the summer, they played some baseball, some 7-on-7, and they just played whatever season it was. I think that just kind of hones your athletic instinct. So that's another conversation for another day. But what you're talking about, Rod, with how you use the quarterback run game, I think of how as it relates to Arch with the offense in 2025, I just kind of look at how Clemson handled Trevor Lawrence, because Trevor Lawrence, probably not as overall athletic as Arch, but great straight line speed Trevor Lawrence has, is one of those things where we didn't see Clemson run Trevor Lawrence like 15 times a game, but you kept it in your back pocket where, like, hey, if we really, really need it, if we get in a bind, we can break the glass in case of that emergency and use it.
Yeah, good point.
I think that's how you have to handle it with Arch until, Rod, we talked, we did football theory, then the three of us, we did the Ohio State preview. That's kind of what Ohio State did with Will Howard last year. Like, hey, we know we can run him, but we're not going to abuse his body until we really need it. And when did you see Will Howard's rushing numbers and his rushing effectiveness go up? Go look at some of the bigger games Ohio State played last year, whether it was Penn State in the regular season, Tennessee, Oregon, Texas, the national championship game where I think he carried it 10, 12 times. It's just all about minimizing risk for a quarterback when you call his number.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I mean it is fascinating though. Like this recruitment, like I say, it could just be that he's special. If he's special, he's special. And this is not a part of some more grand plan or some deliberate, intentional method by Sark. But I think there is something to it, a little bit of something to it. But the young man does seem like he has that it quality. Love his overall, just overall athletic instincts. As you pointed out, Jeff, I mean, he plays with that. You could tell. I think that's what Sark likes about him too. All right, let's thank another sponsor before we move on. We'll get some questions here as well. Let's thank our friends over at Vaughn Lane before we move on here. Vaughn Lane, folks, best way to travel in between the major Texas cities, whether you're going to Houston, whether you're going to DFW, going to Austin, going to San Antonio. We know it's a bit of a toss-up, right? Do you deal with the airport chaos, right, and deal with potential flight delays, or do you brace yourself for hours behind the wheel, battling traffic and road rage and dealing with hours of lost productivity while driving on the road? Well, the third option is better in every way. Our friends over at Vaughn Lane. You arrive at a luxury hotel terminal, no TSA lines, no long-term parking lots, just a seamless boarding experience that takes minutes, not hours. You settle into a plush leather seat. A hot towel, pillow, and blanket are at arm's reach. Your attendant offers complimentary snacks, beverages, and on select trips, full meal. And if you need to relax, lean back and enjoy the ride. But if you want to stay productive, there's high-speed Wi-Fi and power at every seat. And while you're unplugging or powering through, the Von Lane team, they're monitoring traffic in real time using smarter routes and efficient detours to keep your trip smooth and on schedule. And now it's the perfect time to plan your fall travel. Booking is open through September. So whether you're headed to a college football game, like a lot of you will be, or a weekend getaway or a business trip that needs to be done right, Von Lane makes the journey part of the reward. Von Lane serves Austin, Dallas, Houston, Fort Worth, San Antonio, and in the Southeast, Atlanta, Nashville, and Memphis as well. Visit vonlane.com. That's VONLANE.com, and use the code OTF25 to save $20 off your first ride with Von Lane. That's Von Lane, elevated regional bus transportation. And thank you very much, Von Lane and their team, for being a part of our team here at On Texas Football. All right. We do have a couple of questions here, and then we'll dive into that Pro Football Focus ranking of the top linebacker units in all of college football and where the Longhorns are ranked there. But Ryan here says, Jeff, Rod, and CJ, rank your top 5 SEC coaches. No, Kirby Smart's at the top of the list.
Yeah.
I mean, that's easy.
Are we going? I got to figure out what my criteria is before I rank them. Like, are we talking about just like resumes right now, where we think they're going to be in 2025 over the next 5 years?
Whatever your preference, whatever you think. I mean, I just think it all starts with Kirby, right? I think we all
starts with Kirby.
We are in agreement there about Kirby. Different, yeah.
Kirby, Sark, a step below. I don't think there's really a whole lot of. I don't know, man. It feels like there's a lot in that next tier. What have you done that separates yourself?
That Lane Kiffin tier.
Yeah,
right
like
now?
Heupel made the college football playoff last year, but are you, how would you stack him up against the Kiffin? How would you stack him up against, Brian Kelly? I know he's had some down years, but he's at least been to the dance, right? It's tough.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I would Kelly actually.
I would look at it from the standpoint of, I'm an athletic director and I just inherited a blue blood athletic department. I've got to go hire a head football coach, and I can hire any coach in the country. Like, money's not an object, it's whatever. My list would probably go, I know my top 3 would be Kirby 1. I still go Kalen DeBoer 2, and then Sark 3.
Good point.
After that, I may go Lane Kiffin 4 and Brian Kelly 5.
I probably still got the first 2 that Jeff does with Kirby and I'm a big Kalen DeBoer fan, even though obviously he had a rough year last year. Some people would say in transitioning to Alabama, tough to follow the GOAT. Man, Brian Kelly, I know people are down on him since he went to LSU because he can't seem to get all 3 phases to be really good. I know you are. I think Sark's definitely in that top 5. There's no question. I'm gonna go Kirby, Kalen DeBoer. Oh man, I'm sorry. I either want to go Brian Kelly then Sark, or Sark then Brian Kelly, but I'm not sure. With me,
it's interesting. The coaches that we consider to be on the hot seat and live. The one that, look, I don't love him as a coach, but for whatever reason, each year I've kind of looked over and said, okay, he's still there for a reason. He's still kind of exceeding the expectations. And maybe this will be the year where he really breaks out, given that he has a quarterback. But Billy Napier, I can't lose him. There's something about Billy Napier.
I just can't quit you. You just can't
quit him. That's what it is.
Napier.
Look, I'm out on Brian Kelly, but something about Billy Napier, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, no, I feel you on that. Sometimes I become like emotionally, connected to coaches for some reason. I have no idea. Brian Kelly fan club. Yeah, I mean, I think Brian Kelly I think he's a good coach. I just think he's been thrust into a culture that he's been kind of struggling to figure out at LSU. That, administratively, but also with the fans and all that kind of too. I think it's taking him a little while. He says he has his best team ever. We shall see. But I still got Kelly in my top 5. I got Sark in there too. I right now I'm leaning toward Sark over him, but man, you can make the argument either way if you want to, depending on how you want to frame it. All right, you can say Sark is trending that way, and Brian Kelly was at one point at a higher, obviously at more of a peak than Sark because he got to the national title game and had more consistency. So I'd take Kelly over Sark right now. So I'll do DeBoer. I'll go Kirby Smart, DeBoer, Kelly, then Sark for me. I know people are down on Kelly.
I would go based on my criteria. I would go Lane Kiffin over Brian Kelly because me personally, I feel like Lane Kiffin is more equipped to be able to manage a football program in the year 2025 than Brian.
In the modern
in terms of
landscape,
getting the players, understanding NIL, a guy that's shown he can adapt and change and evolve. I mean, I haven't seen a ton of evolution from Brian Kelly. I mean, he's still the same. That case of the red ass he had in South Bend didn't just suddenly leave when he got to Baton Rouge.
I agree, but then it's hard for me to take Lane Kiffin seriously. Like then I can't picture Lane Kiffin winning a national title because I can't take him seriously.
Oh, I get it. Yeah.
I think a lot of, so to me, that's probably just that's something I got to deal with, right? That's, my view and perception. But I'll give you, and here's a stat for you about Lane Kiffin. There were two football programs that had over a 20% havoc rate and over a 9.5% explosive play rate on offense. 20% havoc rate on defense, at least, and at least a 9.5% explosive play rate on offense. Texas and Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin underachieves, man, for some of the talent that he has at times. Now, I think he's brilliant at designing offense. There's no question about it. But I don't know that stat. You should have been in the playoff, man.
Yeah,
not make the playoff. Having arguably the most havoc-wreaking defense in college football and one of the most explosive offense in college football. How did you screw that up? Where
I will be with you out on that, Rod, where I will agree with you. That's where we've seen Sark evolve the last 2 years. Have they had some close games? No question. But Sark hasn't had one of those losses like Lane Kiffin had last year against Kentucky at home, where you look at it and you're like, dude, how the hell did you lose that game? You were the better team. You controlled the whole game. Like, there's no reason for you to lose that football game. Sark hadn't had one of those in a while.
Yeah, you're right.
Oddly, it's funny that we're talking about these two coaches because I think they're different stylistically as coaches, right? The way that they go about leading a program, but their programs essentially are in the same place. Shiny, flashy offense, defense that underperforms year in, year out. We talk about not living up to the standard for Ole Miss coming in last year. Dude, that LSU defense was horrible. And They got ran over by Marcel Reed, got ran over by Jalen Milroe. That's LSU. LSU's supposed to be a defensive school, right? You talk about DBU all the time. Now it's kind of transformed into wide receiver U with Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, some flashy big-time wide receivers. And they're still – you should never be able to score 40 points on an LSU defense. And that's where I think both programs are kind of in that same spot.
Your comment, Rod, on Lane Kiffin, like, can you take him seriously? That's where I am with Drink at Missouri. Because somebody mentioned in the chat, like, Drink was this one
I like
the last 2 years. There's a Tom Herman quality to Drink that I just can't wrap my arms around it. It just rubs me the wrong way.
That is a good, that's, oh man, I never thought about that, but now I can't unthink it. Right? I'm making that connection too. That's a good one. Like I said, I like Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin, I did a breakdown about offensive play callers and basically either a coordinator or a head coach or play caller, just offensive minds in college football who have been top 10 in their offense have been top 10 in explosive plays and how often in the last 6 years, nobody had more appearances than Lane Kiffin. He was number one. He was number one and had done it at multiple institutions. Did it at Florida, Atlanta, wherever he was at there. Florida Atlantic, and then did it at Ole Miss too. He knows how to create and construct an explosive offense. Yeah. He can do it anywhere, and he can do it with any damn quarter because he needs a quarterback that's kind of toolsy, and he can do it with that quarterback. And you pointed out, CJ was the Matt Corral. Your Matt Corral point.
You do it with Matt Corral, you could do it with me.
Like it works. It works. We know that about Lane Kiffin. It's just the other stuff, and I love what I believe it's 817. Mr. Talk Too Much said. He said, Rod, it's the details. Sark is more detail-oriented. I agree with that. I think Kiffin sometimes forgets about details, don't give a damn about them. I think Sark is almost meticulous in the details and how much he, emphasizes them, right? But anyway, we shall see.
I feel like when I look at Drink, I think it's something I saw Hannibal Buress say to Pete Davidson on a Comedy Central roast. He's just looking around the days. He's like, when I look at you, I don't have fun. That's how I feel about Drink. I look at him, I don't have fun.
He's actually a fun coach, to talk to. I've listened to interviews and stuff.
Yeah, but there's something about watching him coach a football game. Like I said, I look at you and I don't have fun.
Is it the glasses? Anyone glasses? Is that what it is?
His aura just seems like it's off. Like I said, it's kind of there's a Tom Herman vibe that just doesn't sit well with me with Drink. Man, I could be completely wrong. Drink may be a great guy, but there's just I don't know, man.
As long as he remains a thorn for Oklahoma and recruiting and on the field, cool with me.
Props to him. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's take another one of our sponsors. Let's thank our friends over at Advanced Pain Care with a very special message from two legendary lifetime Longhorns, Colt McCoy and Vince Young.
Pros know the pain stops here.
Physical therapy helps me as an athlete then and now. And do I still need therapy? Yes. And Advanced Pain Care helps with that.
Injuries will stack up. They'll add up. You can't let those injuries get you down, and Advanced Pain Care has been very helpful for me.
We can help with whatever's got you down, from nerve damage to our spinal cord stimulator. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Same-day appointments available.
Advanced Pain Care. The pain stops here.
Very much to Advanced Pain Care and to VY and to Colt McCoy. Oh, how about this one? Jerry says Jackson High 4-star running back Xavier Crowell has arrived in Austin.
There you go.
Yo, V. Yeah.
Big time running back on campus, as well as Devon Benjamin made his way to Austin Bergstrom earlier as well. He is the kind of borderline 5-star safety out of Westlake Village in California. Two really talented prospects just made it on the campus. Good sign for the Longhorns, of course. But fireworks are ready to be shot off, Rod. The Lamborghinis are on campus, ready for some fireworks.
Crowell's interesting because you've got a running back, a big-time national running back from Jackson, Alabama, that Alabama has decided we want him to be our guy in 2026. And Chad Scott and Sark aren't by no means. They're not only not afraid of the fight, they're running to the fight for Xavier Crowell. So that I still, Rod, just get like a sour taste in my mouth. Look, Mac Brown did a lot more good than bad for Texas, but like post national title, just the hesitancy to get into recruiting battles that I felt like Texas could have gotten into and had success. That's not the case at all.
Mac thought he was above it sometimes. Like that's beneath me to get into a recruiting. I was like, no, dude, that's what it is. That's the job. Yeah.
And I get like there was that one cycle, like the Martellus Bennett, Ryan Perilou, Fred Rouse cycle that just kind of soured him on that. And Texas started, and then plus after that you had that group like with Dre Jones and Robert Joseph when guys started getting in trouble. Matt kind of changed the way he recruited and wasn't getting in these kind of recruiting battles. Not like he was, Rod, when he was putting it together, starting with your class, they went after Chris Sims. They went after Roy Williams.
They were stealing guys. They would go take a guy who was already committed. And then you're right, once Mac established it, he almost felt like that was beneath him. It's like, no, if you're committed, then be committed to somebody else. Yeah. We don't need you. It's like, no. Go say recruit to the whistle. As Jerry says, recruit to the whistle. And I'm with you. I agree with that. That's a good point there, Jeff, about Mac. All right.
I just like the fact that like Sark said it at the Touchdown Club of Houston luncheon. He said that everybody was talking about when Texas went to the SEC. Everybody was talking about how tough it's going to be for Texas to recruit. Sark looked at it like, man, if this works and we win, kids in the Southeast are going to have a reason to visit Texas, and then if they visit Texas, they're going to have a reason now to want to come to Texas. Mm-hmm. So. Texas is a place where you can go to Austin, Texas, and still compete for an SEC championship and compete for national championships. You can do that at Texas, and Sark is not backing away from him. And they are, like I said, you can CJ. I know you even brought it up. Like, do do you run the risk of getting into national recruitments to the point where there's an imbalance where all of a sudden maybe you're not taking as much care of your backyard as you should? But I just like the fact that it doesn't matter if they feel like there's a great player that can help them win a championship. It doesn't matter if they're from Austin or Dallas or Jackson, Alabama. They're going to go get them.
Yep. Good stuff, guys. All right, let's before we get out of here, because I want to ask you guys about this ranking from Pro Football Focus. They're actually doing position rankings for position rooms across the country, the best linebacker unit, the best D-line, secondary, etc. And they're at linebacker right now, and they rank the Longhorns as the number one linebacker unit in the country. I knew they'd be high. I didn't think they'd be number one. But they got it because Anthony Hill is considered one of the best linebackers, if not the best returning linebacker in the country. You picked up Brad Spence, of course. You got Leon Lafau in there. We've talked about it, and even Sark said it during the spring. It was the biggest surprise for him of the spring was the depth and talent at linebacker. I've actually said I think they might run more NASCAR nickel this year just to get more linebackers on the field just because they're so deep there. What are you guys' thoughts? Best linebacker unit in the country?
You're not even mentioning Ty Anthony Smith in
there. Yeah, you're right.
Right up. So
yeah, Trey Moore playing some snaps at linebacker, and I mentioned that either. It's a deep group, man. It's legit.
Yeah, it's fun. And they got so much versatility, right? We talk about kind of the jumbo athlete. They got 4 right now that are over 240 pounds, and they move very well. We know what Anthony Hill looks like in space. He's north of 200 pounds, 240 pounds. Trey Moore off the edge, I thought second half of the year was fantastic. Coming off the edge, north of 240 pounds. Bo Barnes ran 10.9 at 240 in high school. And now Brad Spence, who had 4.5 sacks last year at Arkansas. Look, they got versatility to hang and bang with just about anybody that wants to muddy up, the trenches. And then you got guys that can play in space. Leon Lafau, Ty Anthony Smith, as you mentioned, guys who have career interceptions or for Ty Anthony Smith's sake, played safety in high school. So you got the best of both worlds here for Texas. It's deep. It's versatile. There's all sorts of plug-and-play options. And if one goes down, well, you got some pretty good replacements waiting in the wing. So this is as talented a linebacking group I've seen in quite a while.
Yeah. It's a good point.
It'll be fun.
Yeah. They say Trey Moore has 8 sacks last year.
Maybe a little inflated.
This is weird. No, but this is weird, though, because Texas has him with 6.5 sacks. College Football Reference and ESPN, I believe, have him with 5.5 sacks. For some reason, I don't know, everybody's got his sack total different. It's weird. I don't know. And I'm going to ask Trey Moore, like, hey, man, where do you have your sack total? Because Texas actually, they have that last season, they have the sack total at 48. And everybody else has it at 46. One of the discrepancies is his sack total number. Yep. He's got one more sack by Texas than the rest of the platforms have him. Anyway, but it's a weird thing that I always see Trey Moore with a different sack total number.
Well, crazy thing about Trey Moore is that he didn't have a sack until November.
Yeah, that's right. Great point.
So either way, if it's 6 or if it's 8, whatever. I mean, that's a lot of sacks in a short amount of time.
There was a game, I forget, I know it was a home game where he had a sack, and then I think like the official statistics like rescinded it the next day.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's what happened.
Yeah. I've slept since then, but I remember it was a home game. He had a sack. It might have been like the Colorado State game.
Okay.
I think it was early in the year where he had a sack and then it got rescinded the next day. So,
okay. No, it's something for you going on, but it's just some random thing that came to mind.
But to back to CJ's point, talking about talent, this is the most dynamic group of linebackers I think I've ever seen Texas have. You've got pass rushers, you've got off-ball guys, you've got 3-down guys, you've got coverage guys. Like you haven't had this much variety in that linebacker room, Rod, maybe ever. I know that's at least since I've been following the program.
You've never had a linebacker like Anthony Hill that his pass rushing ability and off-ball ability being both elite. Like being elite off ball, but also an elite edge rusher. And I'm with you. I don't know if we've had this much variety. Not that I can remember. I agree with you on that too. So there you go. That's why a lot of folks are saying the Longhorns could have the best defense in the country next year. It's because of a big part of it is because of that linebacking core. All right, let's thank our final sponsor, our friends over at South Point Dodge. Before we end today's live stream, Texas football fans, you can score an easy extra point this season when you get to the point with our friends over at South Point Dodge. South Point Dodge has over 600 vehicles in stock, including the all-new 2025 Ram 1500. Get the real deal today and drive away in an all-new Ram proven to last. Plus, you get employee incentive pricing with our friends at South Point Dodge. That's right. You pay what the employees pay. Now, that's the real deal. All right. You won't get a better deal than that with our friends over at South Point Dodge. So score big today at South Point Dodge. You can go see them off of I-35 in South Austin, or you can go online at southpointdodge.com. Remember, employee incentive pricing, their fancy way of saying you get the employee discounts. And don't forget to ask about that 2025 Ram 1500, all new, and you'll get the best deals at South Point Dodge. Whether you want a car, a truck, trade-in, something new, something used, South Point Dodge is Austin's automotive everything at southpointdodge.com. Really appreciate them. We got a super chat real quick before we get out of here. Do y'all believe Arch can throw for 3,800 yards and 25 touchdowns? Yes, because they play so many games. I mean, if they go to the Final Four again, they're gonna play 16 games. I mean, that's a lot of games.
I bet it does.
Yeah, so I think so. What did Quinn throw for? Quinn missed games.
25 touchdowns should be an absolute lock. 3,800 yards. If you play 13 games, that's right around 300, 280 a game or so.
If you play 16 games, you get the 4,000 yards, averaging 250 yards a game.
Okay.
Seems doable.
And he'll have a couple of big games potentially where he'll have over 300 yards passing. Yeah. Can't miss any games, though, knock on wood. That's kind of the big key with that. You got to play. If he plays all those games, I think he hits that number, DJ. But if he ends up missing a game or two, then obviously could end up falling short of that. So we'll see. Not often do we see a quarterback start and finish every game in a season for the Longhorns. Sark hasn't had it since he's been here at Texas. So that'll be the challenge for Arch as well. All right. Thank you for that, DJ. Appreciate that super chat. Marco says, Rod, on a scale from 1 to 10, how confident are you that you can beat every OTF subscriber in the 100-meter dash by 2 seconds? Now, I don't know if I can beat CJ by 2 seconds. I'm not going to say I can do that. CJ,
I bet you could. No. I bet you could, Rod.
CJ, you're like 26, 27 years old.
I'm slow. I got my softball trot, and that's about it.
All right, in that case, I am confident then. If CJ don't believe it, then all right, then I can do it. We'll see it. I could end up pulling a hammy or something real quick.
That'd be my only hope.
Yeah, I might end up pulling a hammy. So.
Well, look, when I love our listeners and our subscribers, and when y'all start talking about like an OTF Olympics, my health insurance isn't good enough for like a ruptured Achilles. So.
Yeah, Bobby would put the kibosh on there. He'd be like, "Oh hell no, we ain't doing that. Yeah, Bobby's not gonna participate in that either. All right, thank you guys for the super chats and the questions. We appreciate it. Thanks to Matthew as well behind the scenes. He's the real MVP, always doing a great job. Thank you to our sponsors as well. Thank you to Von Lane, vonlane.com. Use that code OTF25, get $20 off your first ride with Von Lane. South Point Dodge, southpointdodge.com. Flat Creek Estate Winery, flatcreekestate.com, and Advanced Pain Care. Really appreciate their ongoing support of Born Texas football. Thank you, CJ. Appreciate all of your hard work. Coach may beat all of y'all. Yeah. Coach still working out. All right, don't forget that. Thank you, Jeff. We appreciate all of your expertise as well and knowledge. And once again, thank you to Matthew doing a great job. For Jeff and for CJ and for Matthew, I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Until next time, hook 'em horns.
Hook 'em.
Hook 'em.